Do you value more being aggressive, or do you value staying the course? And I think that the 49ers today kind of showed that they were that team at one point where they were aggressive and trying to get big talent. And now, because they've maxed out the credit card, and Jed York's like, no, I'm not paying for this anymore. You had your chances to win the Super Bowl. You haven't solidified that, so we have to go back to the drawing board. I want you guys to, get these contracts done for Brock Purdy and Fred Warner and George Kittle. But as far as making big trades, we're not doing that anymore. And so that's why I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that the 49ers didn't make a move today, but we'll get to that in a little bit. As far as the NFL trade deadline, I mean, dude, it's either nothing or incredible. And in recent years, the NFL trade deadline has become something bigger along the lines of Major League Baseball or in the NBA, where we see big trades all the time go down the NBA. Just this last January, we saw Luka Doncic, or I guess it was February, Luka Doncic get dealt to the LA Lakers. Obviously, Jimmy Butler got dealt to the Warriors. A couple years ago, we saw James Harden initially get traded to the Brooklyn Nets. Then I think like less than a year later, gets traded to the Philadelphia 76ers. So those big moves happen all the time. Same thing with baseball. Big moves happen at the trade deadline. In the NFL for years, it wasn't the case. There was a few anomalies, like there was the Herschel Walker trade that propelled the Dallas Cowboys to have a dynasty. There was the Eric Dickerson trade. You and I remember when Carson Palmer was traded for 2 first-round picks to the Raiders. So there's moments where there's huge trade deadline moves, but nothing, I think, as monumental as today. So let's just get right to it, Steven. I mean, I thought the Jalen Phillips trade was going to be the biggest thing that came down during the trade deadline, and I brought it up last Saturday where a 3rd-round pick, that's what went down for Jalen Phillips in order to get him from the Miami Dolphins to the Philadelphia Eagles. Not to mention, right after you and I signed off, they traded for Jair Alexander, and I really don't know what he brings to that team anymore. I don't know if he's that good of a corner, but if he could be your second corner and you could put Cooper DeJean as a nickel, then that helps them. But later on, Jacoby Myers finally got dealt. He went to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Rashid Shaheed going to the Seattle Seahawks is huge. But I never anticipated Sauce Gardner getting dealt today for 2 first-round picks for the Indianapolis Colts, not to mention Quinnen Williams getting dealt to the Dallas Cowboys for a second next year and a first for 2027. And we all mocked Jerry Jones yesterday for doing that interview with Stephen A. Smith before the game, be like, we got a big-time trade coming. It's going to be a player that's going to help us out in a department we really need help with, but I'm not going to say who it is. And then after the game they lose, they get the crap beat out of them by the Arizona Cardinals. He's like, yeah, we might have a deal in place. It's all contingent on tomorrow, not today. And you're like, well, what is it then? But come to find out, it wasn't just Logan Wilson, who they traded for today from the Cincinnati Bengals. It's Quinnen Williams. So we'll get to the other trades, but just as far as the shock of the Jets selling off big-time pieces, Sauce Gardner, Quinnen Williams, what are your thoughts?
The Jets are the only thing that made this trade deadline interesting. If the Jets weren't involved, then I don't think this would have been as fascinating of a trade deadline as we're seeing. Field Yates calling it the best trade deadline of all time, just because the Jets were on a fire sale with their stars. Yeah, I mean, the Sauce Gardner one was shocking just because no one was reporting about it. All right, I'll concede.
What?
I'll concede.
That it was a good trade deadline?
No. Ricky Scoops is a good follow.
See? Finally, Steven.
Ricky Scoops is a good follow. I was wrong. You were right. I am fat. You are in shape. You're the best. I'm the worst.
As long as you're willing to admit that.
I'm ugly and you're okay looking.
Give me more than that. I might be bald. I have good looking eyes.
Try to do the Happy Gilmore thing. No, dude, he had that. He was the only one that seemed to have that with Sauce Gardner being moved. It's just,
yeah.
But I also looked at it. I thought the Colts were the biggest winners from this day because I just think getting a guy like Sauce Gardner, I don't know how much he was flourishing in the Jets system. I don't know how bought in he was with the Jets system. Maybe he was with Aaron Glenn, but going to a Colts team now that's just absolutely stacked, like that puts them, I'm not going to say they're going to beat the Chiefs or the Bills and they're going to contend for the Super Bowl, but they really could. And Sauce Gardner obviously gives them a better chance, and he'll be able to play some I like this word being used with guys who just never played really in playoff football, but meaningful football. He'll be getting to play some meaningful games later on down the stretch of the season. So I thought he was like the big winner in all this. Quinn Williams thing I didn't get. I don't get the Cowboys doing it. I don't really get I understand the Jets perspective from it. But the fact that you lost Sauce Gardner already, do you really need to trade away 2 stars defensively? And I was looking up Quinn Williams.
That was
numbers.
my thought.
I was looking up Quinn Williams numbers earlier. He's been kind of declining. He's good. And the fact that they managed to get like a first and second round pick for him, that's pretty impressive. But I don't really think the Cowboys are making moves to where I'm saying, oh, Jerry Jones, boy, he's right. Like, I think this one, I'm skeptical of it. And the Jets acquired picks. It was a good haul.
Yeah.
Also, the Jets are clearly 3 years away from being good again.
Yeah.
I'd say two at best. So that sucks to have that realization.
Yeah, but we kind of knew that going into the season, I would say. I mean, you thought more of Justin Fields than I did, but
if I had to pick like a winner out of that one, it would be the Jets with the Quinn Williams deal. But if I take both him and Sauce into account, I'd say it sucks to be a Jets fan today, knowing that your future could be bright. Letting go of those 2 guys, pretty well liked in that area too.
Well, I never like the thought process of, okay, we suck with these good players, so let's just move them, and then we'll hope that we draft the right guys, better guys than these guys. And I'm like, you have these guys, you just didn't put the right pieces around them. And I'll say this too, I can never have the argument anymore of, well, they paid him, so they can't trade him. Like the fact that they just paid Sauce Gardner in July, and now they want to move him, I think that's kind of ass backwards business, but sure, whatever. Here's my thing with the Jets. I thought they pulled the plug way too soon. Like, you could have traded Sauce Gardner down the line. You could have traded Quinn Williams with 1 year left on his deal, I guess, next year. But you never really took the time to build this team. It was quick fixes. Yeah, you drafted Zach Wilson, and that was a bust. So you moved on to Aaron Rodgers. Okay, well, that didn't work out. So now you try to get a quick fix with Justin Fields. You never took the time to draft a quarterback. And there may not have been great options there, but you didn't really try. You didn't I go back to John Gruden with the Raiders in 2018, where it's like, let's trade away Khalil Mack and let's trade away Amari Cooper in hopes that we get better players. And you never know. But to that end, they made these moves and they're doing a whole rebuild here. And I guess they feel confident in Aaron Glenn going forward. So he's going to be their guy. And you have to believe with the bounty of picks they have, they will invest in a quarterback sometime soon. I don't know if it's going to be this upcoming draft class because, quite frankly, I don't really know who's good quarterback-wise. I guess the guy from Indiana is the guy that they're saying, but I don't really know. I haven't studied him. I haven't watched a lot of Indiana football. Yeah.
I didn't see a lot from him at Cal. I was paying attention to Cal when he was the quarterback there. And
is he actually the real deal?
Yeah, I mean, when he got that win over Stanford and seeing how much it meant to him, like, okay, you could tell this guy's passionate, but I didn't really know how good he'd truly be. I didn't think that he'd be a number 1 overall pick pending. Like, when I watched Miami versus Cal live, I thought, okay, that Cam Ward guy, this is going to be a guy who could be a top 5 pick. But with Fernando Mendoza, I never thought he could be that. It's interesting how he just all of a sudden changes systems and he starts to look like a number 1 pick. It feels like he'd have to really be in the right spot if he wants to actually, perform like one. But that's beside the point. The quarterback thing, they have stockpiled a bunch of draft picks. I don't know if they can maybe trade some to get a starting quarterback moving forward. I don't know what their plan is. Are they really just going to use all of these picks? Like, really? All of them? Or are they going to actually trade some of them away?
You would think to maybe acquire some talent, but with all the moves the Jets made today, I wonder at some point, did Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski kind of sit around just being like, did we fuck up not taking that offer with the Eagles for 3 first-round picks? Because the Jets, they totally shitted on our mentality of keeping good players and just, trying to find a quarterback down the line. But did we pass up a golden opportunity? Maybe. Yeah. But as far as the Colts, I mean, I thought it was aggressive as hell, and this is something that Chris Ballard usually doesn't do. I think it's a little overpay to give 2 first-round picks for Sauce Gardner.
It's a lot.
And I know that Jalen Ramsey went for 2 first-round picks. Sauce Gardner's good. I don't know if he's as good as Jalen Ramsey. It definitely helps.
It's all pending, right? It's all pending. Like the thing I hate, like I don't want to do this after, like I don't want to like just totally evaluate the trade and make some conclusion as to what that trade is going to be. If the Colts end up, what if, just a big what if, and the way that Daniel Jones looked this week, I don't know if it's going to happen. If he looks the way that he did in this first game of November, when he's kind of got that Derek Carr syndrome where he struggles after October.
Not gonna say that just yet, but
he does. Look at the stats. But yeah, I've watched every Daniel Jones November game since he got drafted in the NFL. Yeah. Knew him right out of Duke. But I don't want to make any sweeping conclusions, because what if the Colts end up winning a Super Bowl? Like 2 first-rounders may seem like a lot, but if they ended up winning a Super Bowl, who cares? Really, who cares? Like, it's the whole,
yeah, of course.
Like you mentioned with the Rams thing. Like, it really is fuck them picks. And if they win, well, you don't really care too much because they're going to have a Super Bowl trophy.
No, I mean, do you care that Von Miller left to go to the Bills after the fact? No, because you traded a second-round pick for him. He made a difference in that Super Bowl. But do you really believe the Colts are going to win a Super Bowl? Like when you look at the AFC, I think it's only really 2 teams that we saw this past Sunday with the Chiefs and Bills. I think the Colts are a good September, October, November team, but like, is it going to translate to the postseason? Is that offense going to translate when they have to go on the road possibly to play the Buffalo Bills? And again, I should give them the benefit of the doubt because they are the number 1 seed right now. But from what I saw on Sunday, I don't know if they're going to hold that. And yeah, like we saw limitations in Daniel Jones' game. I think when it's set up perfectly for him, it's kind of the same thing as Sam Darnold. When he has the perfect scheme, he thrives. But when there's a little, he's throwing a little more blitzes, he's a little more uncomfortable in the pocket, then he goes back to being the Danny Dimes that we saw in New York. But I think in order for the Colts to win, they realize we have to go above and beyond here. We're playing with the likes of Josh Allen, who's a game changer, Patrick Mahomes, even Lamar Jackson if he makes the postseason. Our quarterback is a good player. He's not a game changer. So we got to make sure that we are the best at every other position.
Yeah.
So let's have the best secondary possible. We already have Kenny Moore. We have Charvarius Ward. We got Cam Bynum that we picked up at free agency this last year. If we get Sauce Gardner to go along with that, then can he throw on us? Probably not. And Lou Anarumo, I mean, he dialed it up back in the day. The Bengals wish I would assume that they still wish they had him, even though their defense was dreadful a year ago. But he was the reason why they made it to the Super Bowl back in 2021, because he had a perfect scheme against Patrick Mahomes that AFC Championship game. So I understand the move for Sauce Gardner today. I'm surprised that Chris Ballard did it, because he's always been just, I'll throw some cash in free agency, but making big trades like this, that's not his MO. Now, the only other one I could think of was during the 2020 draft, and he traded for DeForest Buckner from the 49ers for a first-round pick. Besides that, the Colts don't make moves like